on it, you know?
Good friends.
Hang on, let me test. Hang on. Say something.
Tiffany.
I can hear you. Yeah.
So it's okay even though they're red?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, because we updated the sound system and they're having a problem resetting them back to green. So.
Okay, we ready?
Yep.
Call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Present.
Councilman Brennan? Present. Councilman McCain?
Councilman McCain is absent.
Councilman Stokes?
Present.
Mayor Sykes?
President, let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for the March 14th, 2022, 6 p.m. council meeting. Run down to department head comments and reports. So I'm going to go with Jake. What do you got?
We don't have a whole lot. We're just starting to get kicked off. We got the fence in. I don't know if anyone saw that. That looks good. Just getting ready. We're going to airify the second week of April. We're going to fertilize this month. Threw down some sand on the greens today, so starting to get it going.
Chief?
So got 3 in our current hiring process. We interviewed last week. They'll go for another round of interviews probably next week. Continuing our training, firearms training. Had a nice snow day at the range last Wednesday. Kind of surprised us. But, yeah, things are going well.
Good. Shirley?
We are getting ready for irrigation season, so that entails a lot with that DEQ permit. Other than that, they're cleaning and TVing like usual.
Okay. Doris?
Can I talk for Miguel really quick?
Absolutely.
He just sent me a whole list.
Okay.
His might be longer than mine or Shasta. Okay, so parks. This week we will set out downtown pots and plants. The guys are out doing spring cleaning, burning weeds, and cleaning off picnic areas. They've gotten the bigger areas, like as in parks, fertilized. They still have to do the smaller neighborhood parks. And they started turning on the water, so they're checking for breaks and addressing the needed repairs. And then they're going to start mowing probably next week.
Wow.
So spring is here.
Okay.
You want me to go for rec now?
You bet.
All right, recreation, we are super busy. We're in the middle of organizing soccer. In fact, if you guys drove by Legacy today, you can see they're already out practicing. The spring weather is definitely getting people out in the parks for sure. So first practice was today for soccer. We are prepping for our week-long spring break trips next week. So that'll go Monday through Friday. Some fun thing, I don't know, I didn't plan it this year, so I don't know what they're doing, lots of fun, I guess. So, and then Friday is our St. Patty's Day co-ed volleyball tournament, if you guys are interested, anybody. And yeah, we're just moving along. So.
Shasta?
Teen Nerf battle is tomorrow night from 7 to 9 at the library after hours. We have partnered with Central District Health. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday they're going to be, this Saturday, excuse me, they're going to be talking about overdose prevention and response training, and that's for the whole public. So you're welcome to attend then. We are doing another craft activity on the 22nd from 6 to 7. And the Friends of the Library wanted me to just announce again that they take donations. So if you have any books to donate, please send them our way.
Gene?
Pretty typical springtime. We've got sweepers running. We're getting ready for asphalt patching, so we've gone around and done a lot of measuring and stuff. Getting ready for that. Doing a little work out the roadie grounds to help haul a little bit of dirt inside there to get some areas prepped for some better seeding later. And just on our normal springtime stuff. So.
Okay. Dave?
We're going to be doing some seepage testing with Keller for the next couple days on some drainage out there behind our shop. Got a couple services we got planned for tomorrow and Wednesday to get those done in regular maintenance.
Okay. Let's see here. Chief Moore?
Cutting off guard, Mayor and Council. Not a whole lot going on. We've got, we finished up last Thursday and Saturday the strength and agility test that we had for our candidates. So that gives us a total of 5 candidates right now wanting to be part of our department. This weekend we'll have officer training here at the station. I talked about that. And it looks like from the email that I just looked at before close of business today that we've got to get prepared for a City Achievement Award for May. So we'll have that going.
Roger that. Hank?
E&G wants to open on 31st. We're going to do it, and the plans are complete for the new liquor store. We got other than we're issuing permits like normal.
Code enforcement?
Going strong.
Oh, strong. Yeah. Roger that. Rock?
I already started preparing my City Achievement Award a few days ago. So we are currently preparing those. A lot of growth and a lot of development happening. A lot of the preliminary plats that we did last year, we're starting to see the final plat permitting come through our office, and that will come to you. So hopefully we'll start seeing some building permits go. April 25th is going to be a meeting to end all meetings. We have a ton of items, 10 plus, that's what impact fees are. It's going to be a big one. So I would invite the city council members, if you want to come and speak to me about the items that will be on that agenda. I'm more than happy to have a one-on-one walk through everything so you have a really good understanding. Just know that that one's going to be a big one. So we want to make sure we do all of the prep that we are able. Imagine Mountain Home program is running strong. We've been able to speak to some businesses and they've been applying for the funds. So I'm hoping that we'll see some improvements with the nice spring weather that we are having.
Fantastic. Paula?
Mayor and council, the auditors will be here next week. We did the rough draft. So I do a rough draft and I send it back to the auditors. And I just wanted kind of some of the highlights. I only had 2. The total liability, so that's outstanding, that decreased by a little over $3,095,000. So decreased by that. And then our net position increase in capital assets. So the capital assets that's come into the city has increased by 7.7 million and some other numbers after that. So like a little over 10 million. Good for the city. So good on us.
Good.
Good on the leadership.
Tiff?
I don't have anything on necessarily the clerk side of the house, but we reached out to Cole Architect on the pool today, and we're hoping probably by the next council meeting, they're supposed to submit everything to Hank by the end of the week for our permitting side, and then we'll get the bid docs out to get the ball rolling and hopefully dirt moving, so.
Good.
Pretty exciting news.
Mr. Schroeder, we usually let you have a quick synopsis for us or anything?
Just that the Elmore County is back to jury trials, at least from the prosecution side, so those, rather than getting kicked down the road, are either being resolved or going to trial. So I think I've got a couple in the mill that will be probably taken to trial in the next few months. Other than that, nothing else.
Okay. With that, I'm going to let Mike Luan come down and give us an update in the fiber world. And we also have Kyle here with us tonight and his lovely wife. Kyle is the head foreman for the process of the backbone Like somebody, there you go. There you go. Someone,
Is that plugged?
there you go.
Power always helps.
Power cycle.
All right, Mike, still yours.
All right. Well, Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come talk to you tonight. Once this comes up, I'll show you what we got going on, but I'd like to talk to you tonight about where we started and where we've gotten today, along with addressing some of the concerns that were brought up last council meeting. And that's still not working, is it?
The mayor's getting it for you.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Just
There you go.
yeah.
Okay. Apologize.
I'd put the remote down before you push the button again.
I didn't touch it.
Don't change
I
the
didn't
channel,
touch it.
Mike.
There we go, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on into this. All right, so this project all started out with noticing the need for a better tracking system for our SCADA systems for the water. The old setup, it's basically roughly up to 10-minute wait time to get notifications for any kind of water issues. If a line breaks, a pump goes out, whatnot. Within those 10 minutes, we could lose upwards of 15,000 gallons within 10 minutes. So that's why the fiber optics started, to be able to provide a fast transfer of information. And the system updates are going. The SCADA is in works of getting updated. Once that's done, we'll be able to get pretty much instantaneous notifications, being able to preserve that natural resource. So far, to date, Kyle and Danny single-handedly have laid 12 miles of conduit and fiber optics, so they have been humping. So definitely, excuse me, they've been working hard. They've been working really hard to get this done. They've also placed 85 access points for the fiber optics, along with setting the backbone for the city. The city now has 22 facilities that they have connected to the fiber optics, and the city is being able to benefit from this connection. And now the nice thing is, with this backbone in place, the city now can provide the citizens with the opportunities and benefits of this fiber optics as well. So when we're talking about citizens wanting fiber, this map here shows everyone who's opted in for the entire city so far. So as you can see, there's a lot of people that want to get this connection. This is something that we definitely need, so people are speaking out, they're opting in. And this just is a good example showing that as we move forward, you know, starting with LID 1 and moving on to the remainder LIDs, this is going to be successful. Currently, with the LID that we are getting ready to propose for approval in the near future, we have 722 homes within that boundary and 324 opt-ins, which puts us at right around a 45% opt-in rate. And with that opt-in rate and no additional opt-ins, we would be generating roughly around $68,000 annually to the budget for City of Mountain Home.
It went off, Mike.
Oh, come on. Timed out.
Is it connected to his laptop?
That's weird.
That is weird.
Apologize, bear with.
You're good, Mike. You're fine.
It's probably just because it's maybe stagnant. Oh,
It didn't do it when we were.
yeah. It's weird. The TV got nervous.
There you go.
All right. So moving on, I would first like to address some of the concerns that were brought up last council meeting. The big concern was that we did not want to move forward to public hearing because we were worried that this project was going to put the city in a negative deficit. So I would like to just first come out and say that is not going to happen, and this is the reason. If you look at Idaho Code Title 50, Chapter 17, that is the LID code. This is where all this information is coming from. The LID must stand on its own, and it must fund itself. It's the legal entity for the local improvement district. And if you, I recall there was some concern that we wouldn't be able to cover the salaries for the fiber department. That's not going to be a factor because those salaries are already projected into the LID. So those salaries will be covered by the LID, not by the maintenance and operations fees, if that makes sense. So those maintenance and operations fees are just additional funding that goes into the city budget. And along with all these other items, basically everything that it takes to run, maintain the LID goes into that funding. And you do have this in your packet, so you can refer to like all the specifics, and I can go into that in more detail if you guys would like to get with me. But basically everything's covered, so there's not going to be any additional funding coming from any other departments or any other city funds for the LID connections, if that makes sense. And this slide here goes into showing the positive increase to the funding. If you can see in the green here, based off of our current take rate of 45%, that will generate roughly around $56.70 every month, and around $68,000 a year, and that's just from the maintenance and operations fees. So that goes directly back into the budget. And we do expect that once we start these connections, we will get up to 60% opt-in rate. So you can see that there is right around $90,000 annually increase to the budget. And I'll go into the connection rates for the homes on another slide because I have some more information. But when we talk about the progression of fiber for the city and how it's going to help the city, over 5 years and 4 LIDs, the fiber optics department will generate roughly around $1 million over the next 5 years, and that's going back into the city budget. So there won't be any negative deficits or having to take money from this area or this area. It will be standing on its own and generating additional funding. And next is addressing, I believe there were some questions that we wanted to see more information about. What is it going to cost at 50%, 60%? So that's what this slide goes over here. You can see at our current take rate at 45%, the estimated cost is $4,474, and that's without the ARPA funding. With ARPA funding, that would make the connection cost for homeowners right around $3,900. And you can see 50%, we're looking at between 36 to 41, and the range that we're expecting, homeowners should expect to be paying somewhere between $3,100 for the connection to $3,600. All right, and that leads into the need. Like, why should we do this? So we took 3 bills from citizens of Mountain Home for their internet services. The first one, they're paying for a 12 megabit per second service, and they pay $55.60 a month for that service. Then you move on, another citizen paid $76 a month for a 1 gigabit service, and then another one paid $101 for their gigabit service. And that's a monthly charge that they pay. And so let's go and take a look at what are they getting when they're paying that $55. So this particular person ran a speed test, and you can see what they are paying for, they are not getting. Their connection is almost non-existent, which a lot of Mountain Home citizens call me on a daily basis and tell me, hey, I can't even do anything. I can't, work. I can't, do anything that I need to do. There's a lot of people that, are contemplating leaving the city of Mountain Home because they cannot do their job here, because they don't have the connection that they need. But let's go ahead and move on to the 1 gig. So they're paying for 1 gig and they're getting 5.69 megabits per second. That's unacceptable, in my opinion. But let's keep looking. The next one, 50 megabits per second. Yes, it's better, but you're still, if you can see the consensus here, people are not getting what they're paying for. And fiber is the answer to that. The fiber optics will be able to provide the symmetrical services, the 1 gig services that people need to be able to maintain their lives. We're in a huge military town, and we have men and women out there that on a daily basis are deployed for 6 months at a time. They're missing Christmas, birthdays. They're missing the births of their children, and the only way they can talk to them is through social media or live streaming. So this is very important, in my opinion, for everybody. But you can see when you compare it to one of our pilot homes, we have a pilot home that did a speed test, and they are getting 696 megabits per second download speed and 729 megabits per second upload speed, which is already extremely fast. That speed is going to get better though. We are just waiting on one piece of equipment. So our main connection, basically where we get our main connection to Mountain Home, there's a section there that has to get some hardware upgraded to a 10 gig, and we're just waiting on the equipment. Once that's done, those connection speeds will increase to that 1 gig service. Now, when we're talking about cost, currently with those last 3 options that I had talked to you about, the 12 megabit and the 1 gig plans, the 12 megabit per second plan, citizens are paying roughly around $55 a month, $667 a year. And if you took those costs over the 15-year period that it's going to take to pay the LID back, they would land up paying around $10,000. And for the 1 gig, you can see over the 15-year period, they're paying around $13,000. And then the other plan, the people that were paying $100 a month, they land up paying roughly around $18,000 over that 15-year period. Now, if you compare that to what the city is going to be able to provide, you can see there's 2 different options. If the connection is financed over that 15-year period, citizens will be paying right around $9,300 total over those 15 years. And you can see that that's already lower than what the 12 megabit per second connection costs. And then if someone did pay for that connection up front, their total cost over a 15-year period would be about $8,450 over those 15 years, which is a huge difference, especially if you're paying $100 a month right now, and you can get a service that's basically 900 times faster for roughly $12,000 cheaper. It's pretty phenomenal what this system will be able to provide. So you can see here the savings that City Fiber will provide to the citizens. With the 12 megabit connection, they're saving around $700 to $1,500 a month, and then upwards of $10,000 with the higher plan. So it's definitely going to be a cost-saving benefit for the citizens of Mountain Home. And there's been a lot of questions and concerns that people are going to have to pay, $200, $300 a month for this connection, and it's spread over the 15 years. And this example here is taken directly from the city of Ammon, and this is from their most current LID. So these numbers are very close to what we can expect for our upcoming LID. They got a 2.7% interest rate, and at 15 annual payments, that puts them at $284 a year, or roughly right around the $23.73 a month for the connection. And so, let's see here. And this also shows the city of Ammon's take rate for their last LID. They had a 59% take rate, and their connection cost for their citizens was $34.57. So very close to the numbers that we are estimating. So, and this just kind of goes to show proof from a city that has been doing this same type of municipal fiber for the past 5 years. And then there was some concerns about the lien process with homes. So the first thing to know is that not every single home that participates in this connection is going to get a lien on their home. The only homes that will get a lien on them are the homeowners that decide to utilize the LID financing. And But that will not stop them from selling their homes. It's a little different than a traditional lien because a utility lien can be transferred upon sale of the home. So it's not going to affect them being able to move if they need to. And let's see here. And then also the nice thing is, if it does come to that point where they do decide to sell their home, there's been a lot of national studies that do show that when people sell their home that have this fiber optic connection, they sell for roughly about 3.1% higher than a home that does not have the fiber connection. So, you know, from a $250,000 home to a $450,000 home, you're talking about, you know, between a $7,000 increase to an $18,000 increase in sales when it comes time to sell the home. And the big question is, what needs to happen to get the LID up on its feet and start getting people's homes connected? The first step in this process is to be able to give the citizens an opportunity to voice their opinions on the fiber connection to City Council. At one of the upcoming council meetings, council will have to vote on setting up a public hearing, date and time. And then once that is approved, the city will be sending out notifications in the mail and local paper to all of the citizens that are within that local improvement district boundary of the date and time. And then they'll come out, share their support, concerns, whatever it may be that they'd like to share with the council about their opinions with the LID. And then from there, council will reconvene, and then at that point, they'll have the input from the citizens. They'll find out, do the citizens want this connection? Yes, no. Are they willing to pay it? Yes or no. And then they will be voting to move forward with approval of starting the local improvement district. And once it's approved, that's when we can get everything started for the citizens. We can get the LID construction loans and get all the supplies ordered, engineering designs finished, and then physically start getting the connections out to the Mountain Home citizens and put some smiles on a lot of people's faces. And so that's basically where we're at, and this is our boundary area for each zone within the first local improvement district. And with that, council, do you have any questions for me about any of the fiber optics?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Thank you, that was great. Quick question. This is not in our packet. Can we get a copy of it?
Oh, did you not? I sent an email separate.
Oh, I didn't get it.
I didn't either.
Yeah, Brad didn't either. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Yeah.
I have great things, and I didn't get it, so I don't know. Just if you can just send it to us, that'd be super.
I will I will make sure you get it.
And I will get with you. I have lots of questions, but.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
Great presentation.
Thank you. And anything else?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Could I say really quick, it's hard to hear the other council members from behind the computer, so I can't really hear Becky talking. I'll try my best.
So, Councilman Brennan, she said that they were unable to get the packet that you got printed off.
Okay, perfect. I do have some questions when it's my turn, whenever that means.
Right now. Yeah.
It's your turn right now.
Okay. Mike, I appreciate your presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So you mentioned a revenue generation with LID number 1 of $68,040 estimated. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then you went in to say that the LID cost itself and not the maintenance fund is going to pay for all of the full-time employees who are dedicated to the fiber department. Is that true?
Correct. The salaries are factored into the local improvement district cost. So that overall cost, the connection fees, the $3,600, whatnot, all of the salaries for the fiber team are factored into that, so it will pay for itself. And then the maintenance and operations fees are going to be additional increases to the budget.
So I don't understand how that can work, because we're gonna budget into, it's not really a budget because it's a cost sharing, which means that amount for LID number 1 is set after the work is done, right? So then you divide it equally amongst all the takers. But But once it's installed, that's where that cost stops at. The ongoing cost continues beyond where the LID number 1 is formally established, that $68,000. So how do you intend to pay the minimum 3 full-time employees after that cost sharing has occurred?
So are you, so after the 5-year process, so those salaries are factored in?
I'm not talking I'm not talking the 5-year process. I'm talking as soon as everybody has been installed and you send them a bill, then we have to continue to pay the salaries of the fiber department.
Correct, and we're continually rolling into another improvement district over the next 5 to 6 years. So those are factored in, and over those 5 to 6 years, by that point, there's already going to be, over $1 million generated.
So the more houses we have probably means the more employees in that department. Would you say that's true?
Mayor.
Possibly.
Okay. And so the cost sharing can't just keep going on to LID number 4,000, right? Like at some point the buy-in is done, and we move on with general maintenance. So what I struggle with is LID number 1 boundaries is about, well, I feel like it's probably taken the higher take rate out of the more affluent neighborhoods in town. So the people that have signed up to yet we're not at 50% yet. I think it's less likely to get a higher take rate in maybe the less affluent neighborhoods in town. So if we're struggling to get to 50% where our boundary is now, I feel like it'll be harder to get to 50% or 40 or 30% with future LIDs.
Right, so and with this LID, right now we started this LID in the areas that have the highest take rates first, since it is the first connection group, and we want to give it that success rate, and future LIDs will be able to balance those numbers out more with a neighborhood that has a high take rate and a neighborhood that has a smaller take rate, so that it keeps the costs even across the board for future LIDs. But with this first one, the whole point is to get as many sign-ups in the condensed areas in order to get the project up and on its feet.
So are you saying we may accept LID number 2 with only a 20% take rate?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for LID, the future LIDs, we'll have areas that, yes, they're going to be areas that have large take rates, and then areas that have smaller take rates. So we'll put boundaries of areas that have large take rates together with areas that have smaller take rates, so that the numbers equal out, so that those people that are in the areas that have lower take rates aren't having to pay, $5,000 versus LID 1 paying, $3,500.
Okay, I'll come back to that at the public hearing or whatever, but if there's a public hearing, I struggle to believe that it's going to pay for itself, that department's going to pay for itself. So I guess we can probably talk alone on that. The LID loan I thought it was a 20-year loan. You're saying it's 15 now?
So we have the option to do 15 or 20 years, and we cannot get to that point until we get the approval for it. But then at that point, we'll be able to have both options in front of us and then make an accumulative decision on what's best for the citizens of Mountain Home. Do they want to pay a little bit higher a month and shave 5 years off, or do they want to pay, a little bit less and go for 20 years? So there are two options, but right now the options that I presented were for a 15-year at 2.7% interest, and that puts it around $23.70 a month for the connection.
Does each individual taker get to choose the 15 or 20, or does the city make the decision?
So it'll be either 15 or 20. So there's not going to be a 15 and a 20 year. There will only be one loan.
And does the city pick that, or does the citizen pick that?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but I believe that's going to be a decision that's made cumulatively amongst the city off of input received.
There'll be another public hearing too.
Yeah.
So there's not just one, there's multiple.
Right. Yeah, after the loans, we have the loan details, there will be another public hearing to present all of the details of the loan. And then people will be able to give their input again on those specific loans.
Okay. And then the number you threw out for Ammon was $34.57 per household. $3,457 per household?
Correct.
How many years ago was that?
That's this current LID that they're in the process of right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the most recent information from them because I wanted to ensure that the numbers matched up. I didn't want to get numbers from 5 years ago because that doesn't hold any weight right now because a lot of things have changed in the past 5 years.
And what LID number is that for them?
Number 4.
Number 4? Okay. And then finally, you talk about a public hearing with citizen input, right? I love public hearings, but when certain citizens are not affected because it's an option, they choose to take it or they don't, and if they don't take it, they're not affected. I tend to believe that the public hearing will be skewed one-sided with only the people that want it coming out for it, because those that don't want it they don't need to say anything.
Yeah, I understand that. But the thing is, we need to at least give the citizens the opportunity to be able to voice whether they want this or not. And that's just basically the next step. It's not saying yay or nay. And that is the nice thing about this, though, is that there is an option. And if you want it, you can get it. The number is going to be presented to the citizens, and they can either choose to pay the $3,500 for the connection or not. So.
Okay, that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Yep. Very well.
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Good, brother.
Mike.
Yes.
This is wonderful. I've wanted to see something like this forever. So, number one, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think the numbers really help. Shows the public how transparent we are, how informative we are, and I know you have a bunch of knowledge. I have a couple questions. They're all scattered all over.
Sure.
Just how my brain works. I was kind of curious about, you had something on there about the Arpa Funds. Could you talk to me about that? Because the council did set aside $1 million for that.
Yeah, so that $1 million that's already been approved by City Council, the plan was to be able to help with a small portion on the connections towards each homeowner to bring that cost down. And the plan was looking at roughly $500 a home.
Best guess. That's
Okay.
Whatever the council wanted to give, if they want to give more.
And I think I see the value in that, but I also see the citizens that don't get that benefit too, where I feel like we're not being equal. Right. Just some of my viewpoints. I saw you had 22 facilities hooked up of the city.
Right.
Can I put in a plug for Shasta over the library? Did we get the library hooked up?
That's actually
It's one of the next ones, yeah.
Okay.
We're right on the corner.
They were talking internet service the other day, so I just thought I'd put that plug in there. Without those ARPA funds, were we talking about maybe setting a certain amount to each LID to be equal? So say if you had 5 LIDs, you do $200,000 per LID so that every homeowner within that would get a portion of that? Is that kind of the thought process?
I believe that's the way you're looking at it. I let Mayor kind of answer that question on the...
Yeah, that's however you want to do it. We were going to ask Bruce the best way to utilize the ARPA funding to get more bang for our buck, and he's either available, we can call him on the phone, what his thought process, but we're just trying to get the process to where we think that, you know, do we keep moving forward or we stop? What are we doing?
Gotcha. My thought behind it is eventually we'll run out of ARPA funds for that 6th, 7th, 5th LID, and then they're going to be not happy with the bill. That's just my thought on that real quick, okay? I had a question on, So say someone's in LID right now, like LID 1 right now. We go through the entire process, open it up, get it installed, have the public hearing, and finally close that. What happens then if a homeowner within that LID wants fiber?
So they can still get the fiber all the way up until the point where the LID is closed.
I'm talking about after, once we close it.
So after it's closed, if they do want the fiber, they can still get the connection. They will just have to pay the connection fee up front instead of being able to have that financing option through the LID.
Okay. Cool. And let's see. What was the percent interest on the 20-year loan? Do you know the difference between the 2.7 for 15
So
and the 20?
The average with the city I'm in, theirs has been between 2.5 to 3% for their LIDs. And I'd have to double check for you on the exact difference between the 15 and 20 year to see if they have some data on that. And I can get back to you on that if you'd like.
Okay. And then my last concern is the take rate. And it's only because the higher we get, the lower the cost for everybody. If you want to get together with me afterwards and brainstorm ideas how to get that up, I'm more than happy to, okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mike? Any other questions for any of the other department heads?
Yeah, I have a question. On the LIDs, are they,
I'm sorry. I'm asking council members, do you have any questions for Mike? I'm sorry. Or any other council, do you have any questions for any of the department heads?
Mr. Mayor? Yeah, one more for Mike. Sure. It was on my list. After we get to LID 2 and 3, Councilman Brennan made some good points. So in LID number 1, we're only gonna have 68, 70, 75, 90,000 in that fund. But as that builds up and doubles and triples and quadruples, those funds will build up within the fiber department, hence you guys will be sustainable, right?
Correct, and it's compounding because, every single year, you're not only adding an LID with funding coming in, but now you're counting, the annual income from LID 1, LID 2, LID 3, so it's gonna build quickly.
That'll cover operation, maintenance, training, fuel, gas, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
And then, Mayor, I had one last quick question. Say council approved you right now. How quick could you open and close this whole process? Like, what kind of timeline are we looking at?
So, realistically speaking, if you guys approved it today, we could, if all the supplies come in, we could probably get connections started around June, July timeframe with about a 12-month connection window.
Okay, cool. Just thinking ahead.
Yep.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Sorry, it's Councilwoman or Brennan. Quick question. If you could get for us when we meet or when you send us the package, can you get us Ammon's budgets and what they look like?
I can do a request.
Yeah, that'd be super. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Oh, can I ask a question on that? Do you want the LID budget, or do you want the fiber budget, or just both?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Everything you can give us. Yeah.
So I think, because you're going to want to request, if they have 4.
I looked online. They don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
they don't have it. And then one of the other thoughts, sorry to interrupt, Mayor, was instead of doing $500 per connection, was to buy like a hut. So now everyone benefits from that, whether you're there or not. So that would come out of the Arpa funds, everyone would benefit. Or like we bought that piece of equipment, everyone benefits in the future instead of just, a select.
Gotcha. Cool.
So
Mayor.
we bet around a lot of things, so.
That's my whole principle is the subsidizing of the connection fees. I can't wrap my mind around that. We as a city should not subsidize anything. We don't subsidize water bills. We don't subsidize utility. We don't subsidize trash. So I don't think that we should go down that path. If the ARPA funds, they've already been approved in the budget. If they're going to be used towards fiber, I will vote no all day long for subsidy. But if it can be talks of a hut or equipment, things like that, capital purchases versus subsidizing, then we can start discussing that further as far as I'm concerned. I'm not against the fiber. I think it's great. That's just my sticking point.
Okay.
And I'd like to delve into the budget a little bit more with you.
Okay, sounds good. I'll get you as much information as I can from
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
I like the hut, and all that good. Councilman Brennan, sorry.
Oh, you're right. I wanted to mostly agree with Councilwoman Garvey as well on the subsidies. This is money that came from the federal government that I believe should benefit all of our citizens, whether they take fiber or not. So I'm going to be completely against subsidizing it. I still believe that buying a hut or a capital asset is still a subsidization, or that's probably not the right word, a subsidy, because a large portion of our citizens still may not choose to take fiber. So we're making the overall cost cheaper for those that take fiber, and those that don't are not receiving any of that, no benefit from that federal money. So I think it needs to stay out of the fiber department and go to a department like water, where every citizen in the city of Mountain Home has water coming from our wells.
Roger that. Okay, council members, anything else for Mike?
Send us that.
Yeah, we thought we did.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, department heads, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll run down to recognizing persons in the audience. Comments maximum of 3 minutes. Would anybody like to come down and speak? Wait, really quick. Hang on a sec. I have this. So Bev, will you want to come down really quick?
Yep.
Sorry, I got my sticky note. I'll give that back.
We have packages for you because we couldn't get them together Friday by 5. So we do have a package for each council and the mayor.
So Bev, your show.
My show?
Your show.
Well, I just have, I'm going to make this real quick.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I'm going to make this real quick.
Okay.
I'm with the farmer's market, which you all know that. But the past 4 years, I've been doing this for 24 years with no problem whatsoever. The past 4 years, every year something has come up. The rent, number one. First off, it was $5 a year, which I don't know what $5 a year more, cost you more for the paper. The second year it was $141. This year it's going to be $500. I want to know why, and is that fair?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
Hi, Bev. Back when we had another park superintendent, we kind of resolved this issue by coming up with a formula for the use of the parks, so that everything was equal and the city was not discriminating on any basis, and that's my understanding of how we came to that number.
Correct, and that's what they did last year. They brought her a form and showed her the formula, and she paid like almost $170. And then she had her contract this year, and then they came over Thursday and said it's going to be different because now they want to change it to an event. So we're saying it's a win-win for the city. We have 40 vendors. I help Bev. The other vendors that are here help Bev. We do it free our own time. We have more vendors than we can even get in the park. We could fill the caboose park. We have so many people calling. We're full. And so we're just, by changing it to an event and making her pay more money, is less money she can put back in the community. That's her beef. The packages we gave you, I have personally talked to Councilman Brennan about this. What's the beef with the market? And I understand where he's coming from. You have somebody using city property, charging money, and he doesn't know where the money goes. So I went and talked to Bev. I said, you need to show Councilman Brennan where the money's going. Officer Brennan never went and got the stuff from her. So when this came up this time, I said, this time you're going to get this year's checks, and you're going to show them where you spent most of your money. The picture on the front is a billboard she had painted out by the base. It's by the barber shop. That's the only receipt we don't have in there.
Ms. Franks?
Yes?
And I was gonna say, so I was in favor of you guys having the same type of lease you had last year. My only thought was that to actually expand it to include that place to the south, where we have the new gazebo, so that you could have more vendors and help the city with insurance during your event. We all know that flea market exists over there, and that's fine. I just see this from an insurance standpoint as we're opening up ourselves to liability issues. So that was my only concern.
I understand that part, and I understand the liability of the city, but she's paying for hers.
Mhm.
You're not making the flea market pay, and they're not even from Mountain Home. Half of them are from out of town.
Mhm.
And even the concession stand people over there are using your power. And so, and we have one food vendor. The state comes in and inspects her at the beginning of May. You have vendors over the flea market that come with their barbecues and sell hamburgers and hot dogs. They're just people walking around. At least Bev's trying to do it legit so that the city likes what she does. I mean, the flea market is packed. And when we have the Makers Market, when we have the double weekend, downtown is packed.
And I guess that's my point to you, though. I don't want to treat two groups indifferently. I want to treat the Mountain Home Farmers Market and the flea market the same way. The best resolution in my mind was to try and incorporate them. If that
I
made
disagree,
sense.
but
I disagree.
Once we set up our booths, we don't leave our booths. So that means somebody would have to go and walk around there. I don't understand why Parks and Recreation or Parks doesn't have one of their seasonal people go there every Saturday. If you go down Main Street on the morning, you will see the guy on the corner takes half the block to the railroad track and half the park down to the electric sign. Half your vendors aren't even here. So let them go charge them. Make more money for the city. It's a lot just to do the farmer's market.
I
can
know
tell
it
you
is,
that.
and I appreciate your commitment to it. I'm all in favor of a lease agreement. I voted against the special event motion that Councilman Brennan brought forth, and that's my thoughts.
I mean, I totally understand where Councilman Brennan's coming from. I understand using city property to make money, but she's not. She gives it back. And that's why, and I hope you make sure he gets that package so he can see she's putting all the money back into the community.
I love you, Bev. You know, you do good work. You've been doing it for a long time, and anybody that's willing to sit there every Saturday, I commend you. Because, and like I say, you guys do good
Come
work.
down at 5:30 and you can help me unload.
AM?
Yeah, she's there at 6.
I know. Councilman?
But if we, okay, $500 a year, not a problem. That just takes $500 away from what we're giving into the community, as you can tell. And is that the way it's gonna stand, or next year will there be another thing?
That's right.
Councilman Stokes?
And I think that's why we came up with that formula, Bev, so that it was a lasting formula. It showed equality. It wasn't showing preference for one organization or the other. I don't know what the difference is between the lease and the special event permit.
$500.
They pay the daily. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that question because I can't remember why you guys had changed it on her.
The motion on the table when they pulled was to have her fill out the special event form and pay the daily rental of the park. So she would pay half-day rental, which is currently $25. Darcy, is that correct? Yes. Versus the lease was $130 for her to operate for the calendar year of this year.
So why not just let her keep the 130? I can't remember.
I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
168.
Councilwoman Garvey.
So, it's fine. I think, in my mind, the lease is way more comprehensive than the special event permit anyway. I think the sticking point was the insurance. We can work through that. But I'm again, don't charge. I mean, she's doing such a good thing for our community.
Excuse me, you're talking about insurance. Are we gonna have to start paying insurance now?
Liability, Mayor, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman Garvey.
Liability insurance.
We're gonna have to pay liability insurance.
That's what was discussed
Yeah,
at the last meeting.
So I guess my question in council members is, people that go down there and just set up for the flea market, we don't make them have any insurance.
Right.
Why are we gonna charge Bev insurance? Because all your members probably have their own insurance anyways.
Yes, they do.
So I guess that's my question to the
Mayor.
Councilwoman Garvey.
She has control of her vendors. So I don't think that it's her problem that the flea market just sets up down there. I think that's the city's problem. And then we need to enforce it, not her.
Right.
So we need to discuss, are we going to make it all one big thing? But are you willing to take on all those people that set up their garage sales every other weekend?
What do you mean, am I willing to take on?
Because the flea market.
Oh,
sorry,
no.
she wears hearing aids.
No, no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
I
no,
apologize,
no,
Bev.
no.
I'm sorry.
McGill called and talked to me about this, and I went and talked to Bev about it, and Bev said she didn't want to take on that liability of all
yeah.
those people over there.
So then I don't know that why are we going to trouble her with this problem when it's actually a city issue? If we have a problem with the people at the flea market, then we need to figure that out, not Bev.
I agree.
I mean, if we keep growing, eventually we're going to have to come to this council and ask them if we can do the caboose.
Right.
We have too much. So what we do now is we have our regular 40 people. They pay $50 a year. So it's like $2.25 a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then if somebody's absent, we keep a sheet. And like if I say I'm not here the next 2 weeks, then we have floaters, people wanting to come in. And so that's how we try to have different people. And
Councilman Brennan?
I think we're kind of forgetting that we also have an ordinance that we talked a lot about in depth that says you cannot sell anything in a city park without a special event permit. Don't quote me on exactly how that ordinance is written. I don't have it in front of me. But that was a large part of our discussion. And we did talk about evicting the flea market, but it seemed to me, my memory, no one wanted to do that. And I think the police chief was even anti-eviction in the parks kind of thing. So we struggled a lot with working through our ordinance because it says you have to have a special event permit to sell anything in the park, in the parks.
Mayor?
Councilman Garvey?
This might be a question for legal. Could we add special event verbiage to our lease agreement so that we have all of our bases covered?
Yes.
I mean, I think it sounds pretty simple. I don't know. I haven't read the special event agreement.
And
but can we?
just for clarification, everyone, Bev gets more than 3 minutes just because we forgot to put her on as an action item. So I apologize. You know, Bev, did the council, and like I said, I can't remember, maybe you can help me with this one, did they want insurance liability? They wanted to pay the $500?
They wanted to do a special event for every Saturday she occupied the market and paid the $25 park rental.
so that's from May 1st to the second week of October.
Hey Bev, I'll do you a solid. I'll pay your park fee. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
But now, I'm going back to this. Are we going to be responsible for insurance, or is it the individual vendors?
What did the council say last time?
What did they say?
The motion was to have insurance.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
With the lease agreement, not the special event permits.
Correct.
Yes. So that's two separate
Yeah.
discussions. Because we're not doing the lease agreement.
Yeah, because you're correct, Councilman Garvey, because you were the one questioning the insurance, is that correct?
I think we all were.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
I think the insurance would be kind of an issue for some of them, because like we have the Mennonites that come in from Grandview that sell baked goods, and the first 6 weeks she comes, she brings garden vegetables, plants and stuff. So I think the insurance would really do like the Mennonites, you know, and the people that come to sell their baked goods. I think those are the people that have a hard time having liability insurance. I've always had to have liability insurance, but
Honestly, I don't think this is correct, because the Lions Club doesn't give the city insurance policy when we do a movie in the park. I don't think we pull insurance for AFAD. Does APAD pull a special events permit? I don't know.
Insurance.
Mayor, yes.
Council.
Okay, so we're talking two different things. First of all, I just wanted to clarify yours. We're not requiring every vendor to have insurance. It's Bev who's signing the lease to have insurance. That's pretty standard with most lease agreements. I mean, liability insurance, especially as a business, okay? So now back to your question. AFAD does have insurance.
Okay.
But the difference is, okay, we're talking lease and we're talking special event permit. Do you guys fill out a special event permit for the movies in the park?
No.
Well,
we reserve.
Correct.
Do you have a lease or do you have a special event permit? There's two different discussions
Special
here.
event, Mayor, Council. The special event portion has just launched. Like, really, it came Brock, late 2021. As things were coming out of COVID. So.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
So I think one question that would help me understand what we're dealing with is what is the kind of entity that Bev, is it Bev yourself? Is there an organization that's called Farmers Market Incorporated? Is it you personally?
She just started the farmer's market, and it's just always been the farmer's market. It's not an LLC or anything.
No.
Okay. So it's just you personally come in and sign the agreement for the park, and then you, a vendor who wishes to sell at the farmer's market that you personally run yourself, has to come and see you and pays you money to be in the park for that period of time. And they pay that money to you personally?
It's made out to the farmer's market.
To the farmer's market. We have an account.
Okay, so it is some sort of separate entity. This is what I'm driving at.
Correct. It doesn't go under her account.
No.
All checks are made out to the
Credit
Mountain
union.
Homes Farmer's
Well,
Market.
I'm sure, yeah, you have not a bucket, but a bank account, so.
Right.
And then we have a board.
Okay.
And if we
Now we're tracking.
Okay, and then, yes, and if there's two of us and then me, that's three. And if we do other than small expenses like buying stamps or something, like $1,000 to WERCD, we all agree that that's where where the money's gonna go.
Okay, so that is the entity that would be responsible for executing a lease or a permit agreement, and that is the entity that would be responsible for acquiring liability insurance when things go haywire in the park. Right? So we know we know what we're dealing with, and that's the entity that when they make representations about money that comes in and money that goes out, has some sort of a balance sheet that can say this is what percentage of the money you took in. So that sheet showed $2,000 in contributions plus a sign.
Like 2,500.
Plus a sign.
Yeah.
So.
And then there's 1,000 for the.
Right.
A little sign.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, know the entity that you're getting into business with. So the farmer's market, or not, the flea market, is just random people that show up and throw up tables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I'm just looking for information that can help me guide an answer
Correct.
or
Sorry.
an amendment to an ordinance that you.
Right.
But this is helpful. So now you have a board. So you do kind of have an informal LLC or nonprofit, kind of like we had the Cheer Basket way back when, but we had
Correct.
to make a 501c3.
But she's never applied for an LLC.
Okay. All right. That's all I need to know.
Mayor?
I will be quiet.
Councilman Brennan?
One other point I wanted to bring up is that in that discussion, the council discussed at length basically the difference between how we want to do leases and how we want to do special event permits. If I remember correctly, we wanted to proceed with leases on the parks that are specific issue parks, like the race car track and the rodeo grounds. Something that is not generally open to the entire public year-round for any type of use. If you have a year-long lease where you as the leaseholder can exclude people year-round or nearly year-round, then we fall under the lease. If it's a park that could be open to the public year-round with bright green grass and water fountains or whatever, that's kind of the direction we went with a special event permit, because one group could lease all of Carl Miller Park for every single Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weekend, all year long, under a $5 lease. So if it's a park that's open to the public year-round for any type of event, that's where we were going with the special event permit.
Makes sense. Okay.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Is this an action item? I apologize, not an urgent.
No, this is.
Okay. I think we need to look at our special event permit again. I was not in office when that was enacted or discussed, but I think in order to let Bev go ahead and get spring moving, we need to find a resolve to this. I know you said you'd pay her fee, which is good. That helps that, but we need to figure out something going forward. Because the farmer's market is fabulous and I don't want to see it go away. And I appreciate your work every week. So.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes?
I agree with Councilwoman Garvey that we do need to resolve this. I'd like to set it for the next council meeting as an action item or a resolution to say, let's finish this off. And that is very generous of you to pay for her fee.
I just want to make a comment, Mayor, that the $500 isn't the issue. We can pay the $500. The issue is it changes so much for her and she gets so flustered with her age and stuff. So that's why we talked about some of the vendors. She's just flustered because it changes all the time. You know, 2 weeks ago she's ready to get going. We're getting ready to mail out the flyers to the vendors to come to the meeting. I do want to say, because it was just commented, Bev does not allow special people in. She's very particular. It has to be grown in Idaho or made in Idaho. Otherwise, she doesn't let you in. So if you tried to come and do Tupperware or Pamper Chef, she's not going to let you in. It has to be made and grown in Idaho. So there is that. Sorry. And we gave you a copy of the rules. Yeah, she attached at the very back. We attached the rules that she gives the vendor copy.
And keep it for a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that Councilman Brennan gets a copy of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make sure it gets it back in this box.
And then, real quick, we'll put on the 28th.
Sorry, clarification. Are we putting on the lease with the formula? Or are we going with the special event and the $25? That's...
Mr. Mayor?
No. I hate to confuse the water again.
Councilman Stokes?
Councilman Brennan made some good points on why we went to that special event permit. I say we take that route if council is amenable to that.
Councilwoman Garvey?
We have a motion on the table, and that's, I mean, it passed, so we have to do the special event permit, so I think that's what we need to look at.
Okay.
In specific.
Go ahead, Ben.
As a special event, does that mean I've got it for 6 months? Or can somebody come in and do a special event
Does she need to do it
on
like
one of
every
our
week?
Saturdays?
Or
So are you gonna, so Darcy, would you allow her to reserve it for the next 6 months?
It's 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Go
Mayor
ahead.
Council, between Darcy and I, Bev, we'll get the park reserved for you on her side, and then I can help you through the online special event application, and we'll just input all the dates there.
okay. And does she need to come back for that meeting you're going to have in?
There honestly is no reason for her
Okay.
to attend or bring it back to you guys if we're going the special rep.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
she'll reserve it and then Darcy.
So, Mayor and Council, Light the Forest has the park reserved for the carnival. And it's the
You guys use the big one.
we have Railroad Park reserved.
Yes, but then when you do that, we go over to the
Perfect.
Curly's parking lot.
Yeah.
Oh, on that Memorial Weekend?
On that
It's,
Memorial
Yeah.
it's
No,
not.
we move all the vendors to Curly's parking lot, whatever that's called.
It will be
Rancho.
Memorial
Rancho
weekend.
Park.
Will that be fine?
Yeah,
Just
it-
move,
Yeah, and they don't even start until the afternoon, but it's
Right.
not Memorial Day weekend. It's graduation weekend. But we can get you that date. But Darcy has it in her computer, so she
Yeah,
can
no,
tell
we
you that.
moved them before to that park.
Okay, and it's just that one weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Will I see you next year?
Don't go anywhere, Bev.
You get the joy.
How many of you have seen our big sign out on Air Base Road?
Me? Go out to the Air Force Base all the time.
What'd you think?
Pretty nice.
It's very nice. Yeah, nice work.
Good.
Good. Thanks,
Thank
Bev.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks
Bev.
for all you do.
Okay. Would anybody like to
I'll
get
come
up?
see ya.
Taryn, come on down.
You're welcome. Have a good evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, this one is the 3 minutes.
Insinuating something.
I love you, Taryn.
In fact.
Here, I'll take that. It's still light out.
Yeah, it's still light out.
Yeah, that's. Nope, that one's for the public hearing. Sorry, Taryn. Slacking on my job today.
Thank you.
Do you need a pen?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Should I sing this first?
Either way.
Don't cut into your 3 minutes.
I'd hate for Chief Connor to buzz ya.
I know.
Well, he can buzz me as long as he doesn't tase me. Address? Okay. I know when you're ready.
Go ahead, Taryn.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, you know me well, Mr. Mayor, so I have prepared 3 minutes, with your permission, to make sure I don't go over. For the sake of time and out of consideration of the esteemed mayor and council, the city staff and our community, I'll keep this statement brief and concise. I appreciate your time this evening. I have come tonight to speak specifically about the proposed airport overlay district under consideration by the city of Mountain Home and Greater Elmore County, and the intended and unintended consequences of such a proposal. I would like to focus on the unintended consequences that have not been mentioned as of today. There was an AP article published September 15th of last year that addressed the rising cost of housing in the Intermountain West. The article is entitled, "Is the West Housing Market Overpriced?" Okay, and if you would like copies of these, I'm more than happy to provide. These Utah, Idaho cities rank as the nation's most overvalued. That certainly sounds ominous. The research published by Florida Atlantic University and taken from the data collected by Zillow, Realestate.com, Redfin, Wells Fargo, and several other major mortgage and construction loan lenders ranked the top 10 most overpriced cities. Number 1 is Boise, Idaho. As a consequence of our location so close to Boise, our housing market is also heavily overvalued. Boise is 80.6% overvalued, meaning that you pay 180% of what the house should cost. Mountain Home is no different. Please note that the most overvalued housing markets in the United States that I mentioned, Boise being number 1, that's more expensive per capita than San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle, or New York City. And it's a city just 40 miles to the west of where we currently stand. Boise real estate is overvalued, as I said, by 80%, and that affects us here in Elmore County. The average price of a home in Boise, Idaho, as of September of last year, was $523,300. That is 34.7% increase compared to September of 2020. And it appears that we are on track to add another 20 to 25% this year to that rising cost trend. In fact, according to Forbes magazine, Boise housing prices have tripled since 2011. Boise now has the unenviable label of being the most unaffordable city in the United States. It's the second most unaffordable city in North America behind Toronto. Because of our proximity to Boise market, housing in this wonderful community that we all share is fast becoming unaffordable. My 3 minutes. And I'd like to call that, rather than unaffordable, it is now unattainable. The answer to that question, the empirical evidence leads to the question, why are the housing prices rising at an even faster rate than the current rate of inflation, which is pretty high at the moment? The answer to that question is not simple and would require more time than I am allotted. Suffice it to say, the imposition of regulations on those who provide housing contribute to approximately 24% of the final cost of each house. The current average price of a house in the United States is $394,000. That's very close to what the average cost of a house is here in Mountain Home. That is close to the average cost of, here in Mountain Home. Of that $394,000, $93,870 is directly attributable to regulations in the form of zoning ordinances, review applications, planning and zoning delays, requests for studies, and research, and certainly not least the arbitrary application of land use restrictions like overlay districts. There are countless articles, news interviews, and general friendly discussions amongst neighbors wherein we recognize the serious challenges to our community. The challenge is not the legal and constitutional right to use one's land for farming, dirt bikes, horseback riding, tumbleweed growing, if one chooses, or deciding to provide land on which desperately needed housing will be constructed. The challenge is the lack of housing for the citizens of our community that will provide and support for our local businesses, a tax base that keeps our taxes manageable, and long-term investments that maintain a living and thriving community. That is why I cannot and will not support a proposal for an overlay district that will inevitably lead to higher house prices, lower availability, and a need for higher taxes to support our aged municipal infrastructure. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. John, come on down.
You get 12 minutes.
Party going on out there.
I know.
I can't talk on a party.
We're missing it.
Gotta go that long without cussing.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. John Cristobal here. I'm a citizen in Mountain Home, also a property owner in Mountain Home, also a business owner in Mountain Home in the city and in the county. I'm also here in opposition to the overlay as it's presented. I know that I sent this on. I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to look at this. Eventually what's going to happen in this whole situation is, as it goes through the advisory board process, if it gets selected, approved, eventually it'll end up on your guys' desk. And quite frankly, I have no axe to grind with them. They're trying to do a job. And I don't know what their heading was, given or otherwise. I look back through minutes and strategies, and sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. So I don't know exactly. It appears, as the overlay is presented, is that it's a opportunity to limit our abilities as far as landowners out there. If you look at the, oh my goodness, the 62 maps that are in various shapes and sizes that we've been given, that are all different, quite frankly, which is a little bit troubling, is that they give us different information, different land uses. There's already land use strategies on these pieces of ground. So I don't understand why the city has taken this opportunity to worry about encroachment. I'm not encroaching on you. Don't encroach on me. It's very ironic that the airport, you know, there's a job coming out next week for the taxiways. I'm probably going to bid it. I'm not opposed to taxiways at the airport. Don't be opposed to taxiways at C2 construction. All right. The stakeholders involved in this are very
it's everyone in that end of town. It basically encompasses all the way to the railroad tracks as a general description down to Domino's Pizza, give or take, and the same width out the other ways. Those are the stakeholders that are involved in this thing. If it were approved the way that it's kind of written in there, if you can read the fine print, there's a whole bunch of what ifs, maybes, kindas. That don't work in our world. You're the legal guy. You know, quite frankly, it's a private property rights. It's a taking away of my private property rights. I currently have them, and they could be taken away. Taking is a huge deal, obviously legally, right? The other thing that's interesting in this situation, I'll close here just real quick, is the stakeholders involved again are the city, but the county has really not been involved in the process. I've talked to the people over at the county land use and planning, and you know, it's probably about equal, 50-50 county city, but the county has no jurisdiction, so to speak. So I'm in the county, I go to apply for a building permit, and I'm living with the city's rules, kind of, sort of, that are different than the guy on the other end of town. Height restrictions, FAA requirements, et cetera, et cetera. FAA by rule, actually, they govern the airport, they don't govern anything around the airport. I mean, there's some interesting facts and figures and all that. Again, I'm not opposing anything at the airport. You guys stay in your sandbox, I'll stay in mine. That's the bottom line of really where I'm at with the thing. And again, to close, like Taryn, I am in a total disagreement of the overlay as it's presented or even otherwise. You guys currently have land use strategies that we can utilize. We've done it for years. You know, I'm in total disagreement with the overlay, and my job isn't to come here and negotiate my way or my property rights away. My job is to protect my property rights, and I would hope that you would do so as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Good job.
Thank you, John.
Anybody else like to get up? Suzette?
I have a couple questions. Why is it so expensive here at the Moho Market for the weekend? It's $40. I sell at the Eagle Market. Parks and Recs run it, and it's $15. There is tons more people there. It's larger, and you guys want to charge more to rent here than an Eagle. That's kind of ridiculous. Another question is, I put in some sewer lines, 2 pipes. Cost me $800 for the permit. But yet people could put in a pool, $180,000 pool, and it cost them $500 for a permit. Why is that? That's kind of a big span there. So those are my questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzette.
Brock's getting us a visual assist here, or getting me a visual assist. I'll help illustrate the point. While that's warming up, I'm Bill Van Handel, and I own the property on the northeast corner of Elmcrest and Air Base Highway. I have an opening comment, and I'll tie this all back to the overlay at the airport, and which is the focus of my comment. But as my opening comment, I want to say something that is apparent to all of us, and that is we're witnessing in real time on the other side of the world one group of people taking property from others. And they're taking that which does not belong to them. With all the associated evils. Now, back to, or fast forward, I should say, to yesterday here in Mountain Home. And that is the taking of my property rights and my property, and by extension, my private property rights. Brock, could we have that map with the 2 circles? Okay, this is the one of the maps that are proposed of the overlay. My property happens to fall in the smaller of the 2 brown areas, or reddish brown. And again, I'm only one property in that area.
Center circle.
And as proposed by the Airport Advisory Board, this brings the property rights are in the balance on my piece of ground. Unchecked, this proposed taking will come before this council, and that is whether I can develop the ground that I've owned for years or not. And as you can see, well, we can't see it well, but it's indicated there in the dark writing in the, yeah, it says no development. That's quite a broad swath of ground that's privately held, and someone, and to put individuals, it's the Airport Advisory Board, is saying no development in this area. As I say, maybe taking that which does not belong to them. Now, to that end, I'll pose a rhetorical question to each of the members of the City Council. And if this proceeds forward, this process which is working through the channels of county and discussion groups, etc., but it will land on your desk. And my rhetorical question to each one of you is to, how would you consider, or would you consider, supporting the taking of my private property rights by restricting my ability to develop my ground, which I've paid taxes on? And in closing, I'll make 2 statements. One is, I believe, and I think it's pertinent now, more government does not make better governance. And my second point is, and I adamantly request the rejection of the proposed airport overlay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like, come on down, sir.
Nice work. Thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name's Eddie, and I've served in the Air Force for 20 years. I lived right on the flight line, you know, in the dorms and in the family housing during peacetime and wartime. You know, I'm a member of this community. I was going to say I just came from soccer practice, but dang, y'all talked for a long time on some stuff, you know. But I was just over there coaching our kids, and on Sunday mornings you'll catch me over by the courthouse driving a little golf cart, taking people back and forth to their cars and to church. You know, I'm an active member of this community, and I've sought out some investors, and I worked with some different people, and I purchased some property that will be negatively impacted by this airport overlay, with the explicit intent of building attainable housing for this community. So this airport overlay has come after I've already worked with investors to get some property put up. I've already got the designs put into place, and now this airport overlay is going to come and deprive this community of attainable housing. Now, the Airport Advisory Committee has called for a moratorium on housing near the airport. We talked about it several meetings ago about how ridiculous it was, and then they backstepped. Oh no, we don't mean moratorium. And then they said it's for the safety. Who can argue against safety? It's for our kids. We want our kids to be safe. Oh no, we're going to crash into your houses. No, it's ridiculous. They're claiming safety because who can stand up and say, oh no, we don't want safety? But it's a false argument. They're making an emotional appeal about, we want to make you safe, rather than looking at the empirical evidence which says that this is not a safety issue. They're trying to tug on your hearts, and the next thing, we're going to have an advisory council that says we should not build houses near roads because cars could crash into your houses. We just continue to make ridiculous statements about safety with no founding or no evidence on it. When you look at the evidence from Mountain Home, we have 19 aircraft on this airport, 48 flights per day, 2 crashes. I remember one, the dude forgot to put fuel in his helicopter, took off and had a hard landing. Don't remember the second because it was another insignificant little thing and they're claiming safety. The FAA has safety procedures in place, ridiculously stringent safety procedures to keep us safe. And the Airport Advisory Committee is saying, we're smarter than the FAA. We know better. We are going to put on these additional restrictions. But when I go out and I get in my car, maybe I'll walk around it, kick the tires, and I follow some traffic signals and signs. When I get out on my motorcycle, I do a better inspection and make sure that it's running and the equipment is good to go. I watch out for potholes, rough terrain, and complacent drivers out there because they're not looking. But whenever someone goes out there to fly an airplane, they do a pre-flight inspection, checking everything, more stringent than that of a motorcycle. They do a taxiway inspection, making sure that all their stuff is working properly. On the runway, they're doing another inspection to make sure that they are able to take off completely before they get to the halfway point of the runway. And after they take off, there's additional restrictions and guidelines that make sure that it remains safe. This now, previously, the Airport Advisory Committee came in here and said, oh, safety. I recommended that they learn how to fly. They put up a sign out at the airport that says, learn how to fly. And then they also put up a sign that said, looking for flight instructors. Thank you. I'm glad that they're looking for it. But property rights are super important. Previously, Paul Fitz had said, we shouldn't be telling people what to do with their property. The Idaho Attorney General, Lawrence Watson, assembled a 34-page document that deals with the takings. There is a checklist of things that must be considered before limiting property owners' rights. There's a slew of regulations that protect our rights, like Idaho Code 676508 ensures that planning and zoning land use policies do not violate private property rights. The same one, Chapter 80, allows a property owner to request a regulatory taking analysis from the local government should their actions appear to conflict with property rights. There are multiple cases cited in here, including Rourke versus the City of Caldwell, which deemed limiting use of private land next to an airport was an unconstitutional taking if no compensation was provided. The Airport Advisory Committee has created a false dilemma. Either we can have the airport or we can have houses. They're trying to make you think that there's only one decision. But this is absurd. The airport can grow and houses can be built in the same area. Other communities do it. The FAA has set up ways for it to happen. So I ask you to reject the airport overlay that hurts our community and opens us up to this crazy things. Stand with our community and reject the absurd assertions of the Airport Advisory Committee, which are not factually based. Reject the emotional ploy of safety that is founded in unreasonable fear. Do not fall for a false dilemma of either an airport or houses. Rather than shutting down growth and taking property owners' rights, let's focus on the airport growing in a smart way for our community while also building out houses for our community. Remember, if the Airport Advisory Council wants to add safety to the airport, they are welcome to do so. They already have the signs for learning how to fly. It is up to you to decide if the pilots can fly safely. I hope they can, just as they have in the past. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, Council, my name is Brendan McCarthy. Thank you for your time. I just want to start by giving a shout out to the Parks and Rec Department. I think they do an amazing job. As someone who's new to this community, I think that it's just unbelievable the programs we have out there. I got to take my daughter to the Messy play today, and she absolutely loved it, and I thought it was just phenomenal. So again, just wanted to kind of throw that out there, so thank you for all that. There is something I kind of noticed this weekend. Driving by Legacy Park, I saw they were doing the ultimate, Frisbee tournament and everything. And I didn't see anything of like vendors or anything like that for, food or things. And so I guess just kind of asking around, and it seems like that's something that hasn't happened at Legacy. I don't know if there's just not allowed or what. But I guess I'm just kind of curious to see if that's something that this council has discussed or if Parks and Recs has kind of looked into. I'm sure there's a lot of logistical, questions with it, of, trash and, how many vendors you lit and everything like that. But I'm driving by and I'm thinking, wow, all these people are here, but there's no, vending. Like, I want a hot dog or, I want a hamburger or something like that. I'm just like, wouldn't that be nice, especially as a parent, if, when my daughter gets older and we're doing soccer or something like that, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, how convenient and nice would it be to have somebody there that I could just grab a bite or something for my daughter or myself, especially if we're, getting done with school or something, we're going straight there. So I guess that's just kind of my question to the council and even to the department to see if that's something that's addressed. Again, I know there's a lot of logistical things, liability, the services and everything like that. We don't even have any bathrooms. They're all porta-johns and everything there. And it's kind of like, is that something that we should be kind of looking into? So I guess that's kind of my thing with just looking into that, because vendors, you can do the permits and everything, and those are fees that could be going into the funding for Parks and Recs to expand. I know that with the new, I believe it's the, the impact fees, we're not collecting any new impact fees. I believe it's the non-residential, correct me if I'm wrong, but so it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, we're not expanding the parks, so let's invest back into the parks that we have and that. So anyway, just wanted to kind of bring that to the council's attention if that's something that hasn't been discussed, or if Parks and Recs, not to step on toes or anything like that, but would love to discuss that more and see if that's something out there. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Anybody else like to get up? Really quick, sorry, Chief. To the landowners, I hear you. I agree with you 100%. I could not even fathom someone try to take my rights from my own property, and I hear you. So I want you to know that. We're going to run down to the conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any person regarding any items on this council agenda? If so, please set forth the nature and the contact. Has any council had any? Hearing none.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
I directly supervise the 4-H program coordinator listed for item L.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Hearing none. We'll run down to public hearing, library rate increase.
She's talking.
Oh, open the public hearing? Then we have to call it to order? No? All right, I open the public hearing. Anybody want to testify for or against the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Number 2, public hearing, zoning verification letter fee. Would anybody like to speak for or against? Oh, I guess I'll open it up. Would anybody like to speak for or against it? Hearing none, we'll close that one. Run down to the consent agenda. Council members, would you like to pull any of the items? Would you want to talk about any of the items? What do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I just had a question on item E, and I wanted to thank Samantha for providing a wonderful resume to the committee, so we could possibly confirm her to the library board. And then I also wanted to poll item L, please.
Poll L.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Real quick, since we're back to mostly council business, could we set the computer back up high so I could hear the council?
I couldn't hear what he said.
Oh, man.
He just wants to be a
We're gonna work on it.
Some more cords around me, guys.
Put him in his chair, yeah.
I was going to earlier.
You want to face that way or you want to face us?
I don't know if I could.
Councilman Brennan, do you want to talk about any of the consent agendas or pull any of them?
Yes, Mayor, I wanted to ask about item D for a grant possibility for a splash pad in Coronado Park.
Oh.
Obviously, I'm out of town, but I had a brief moment to talk to Tiffany, and I remember that the city was chasing after some hopes and dreams of a similar project in a railroad park. Is this is two totally separate deals?
Correct.
And does this grant have to go to that specific type of project, or is this something just the city has identified as a need?
You want to take that one, Tiff?
I'm pretty, Councilman Brennan, I'm pretty sure that the Blue Cross Community Project grant, a lot of the projects they'd supported in the past were playgrounds and splash pads, if I recall, through when Jamie spoke about it.
Okay, so kind of there's like a park
improvement
item that benefits everybody. And just, I guess for the record, are we still intending to proceed forward with some possible plans in Railroad Park?
Correct.
I'm sorry?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then on item N, N like Nora, November, I don't have any problems with this, but the paperwork we got was significantly incomplete. And I would just, I'm not sure why, but I'd like to see that paperwork completed before it's signed. In terms of, let me pull it really quick, sorry.
Was it in regards to the state license?
It was like, it didn't have any, it had a section for transfers and a fee associated with the transfer. There's just nothing written in there. If it's a $0 fee, that's fine. I guess I'd like to see that in there. Give me just a second. I'll pull that out of my agenda here.
It's $25.
What's that?
I think it's $25 as a transfer fee. Don't quote me on that, though. I'd have to go look it up. But I can tell you, Councilwoman Garvey has a question, so I'm just going to speak real quickly. It's in regards to the state license. I had the same question. It still says MLNB. If you go online to the state website, it shows the transfer in progress, but it's still pending through the state. So that's why you have a screenshot. That screenshot is from my computer, showing that Mr. Short went in trying to get that, or does have it in his name, it just isn't updated through the state.
Okay. So there's a bunch of like just unfilled in sections on this license. This is the fee area here for
$25
for the value of the cost of that. And then for a transfer, do we do the review by like the police chief and the city council of the new premises or whatever?
It would be sent up to the chief, correct?
Okay, so I guess through interlineation or whatever, I would approve this as long as the document is complete and has all the signatures on it. I don't want to approve it without the signatures on it.
I'm going to tell you, I was being really nice and being nice, Tiffany, because I held my packet for this gentleman to submit his application. Or you would have had it long before the time you got it Friday.
Okay. And then the final thing on my end, and then I'll let Councilwoman Garvey go.
Talking to him. Come right in the monitor.
What's that?
Nothing. I don't like being in the screen. The whole room knows now.
Okay, sorry. Finally, I would like to pull a couple items from the consent agenda, which falls under item A. I want to pull the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings from the February 7th, February 11th, and the February 22nd meeting.
I'm just gonna pull all of A, or he wants to let Councilman Brennan, so, you're wanting to pull A, planning and zoning to, February 7th, 11th, 22nd, but you're good with the other ones?
Correct.
Okay. And what other ones did you want pulled?
That's it, just the three planning and zoning documents.
Okay. Councilwoman Garvey, did you have anything? Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda, pulling three items from subsection A and then item L.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Alrighty. Run down to items removed from consent agenda in the new business. Item A, which is February 7th, 11th, and 22nd. Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Mayor. Give me just a second to find the correct paperwork here.
What'd he say?
He's looking for his paperwork.
Oh.
So, Mayor, this is an issue that I've identified to the city before, and these documents are going back more than a month from the original meeting time. It probably sounds petty, but I have a reason for it further down under new business, under a different item, and so I have to bring it to the attention. The three documents together, I believe are incomplete, because as the votes are being tallied of the commission members, there is one particular commission member who is choosing not to vote for whatever reason. And the minutes are not showing that he's not voting. Well, they're showing that he's not voting rather than showing that he's abstaining from votes. And I think it's important because now we're down to 5 people on this commission. And so by leaving out his vote for whatever particular reason, it could affect the outcome of the items that they're discussing. And so in each of these, if I need to give it the exact place in which it happens, I'd be more than happy to. I've got the documents all signed and marked in front of me. But each of those 3 simply leave out one member from their lack of voting. So I would like to disapprove those minutes, all 3 of them.
Okay. Council members, what do you guys? Is there? Hang on a sec, Councilman Brennan. Is there a reason why Brock? I guess I'd ask.
I believe that the person who is not voting in that situation just needs additional training from myself and also from legal. I believe they see them acting as in a pseudo mayor position where you only vote whenever there's a tiebreaker, and that there is a misinterpretation that is also how the Planning and Zoning Commission operates.
Okay. Brennan, did you hear that?
I could not hear him.
So, Councilman Brennan, in short, and I know that you have brought this up before, I believe that the individual who is not voting, I believe it's not purposeful. I believe that they believe, being that they are in a chair position, that like the mayor who votes only when there is a tie, that there is a misconception that they too vote only when there is a tie. There's certain remedies that we could take in order to avoid this situation. Perhaps I as staff could help call for a vote so everyone knows that they need to vote. That's fairly normal in other jurisdictions. But I do understand that it needs to be rectified, especially since we have 5 individuals.
Right, and basically all I'm asking for is for the minutes to be adjusted, saying that he chose to abstain from voting.
Okay, so you're good with the minutes if we just adjust the verbiage in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so then I guess the question is then would you not vote on these 3 planning and zoning commissions, other than if we just change the verbiage?
No, because of another item under new business tonight. I'm not sure the potential legal outcome of it. It may be nothing, but since we're here now, I just assume have the minutes corrected and then re-vote on them. There doesn't seem to be anything time sensitive on minutes unless there's something I'm not sure of.
Is there any issues, Brock?
Not necessarily. I believe that unlike the findings of fact, that the minutes can't necessarily hold up a item going forward. So, and I would actually give it to Jeff to give you the final answer. But from what I believe, the findings of fact not passing on a certain item doesn't mean that the action can't continue to be voted upon and move forward.
Right. So the minutes are just the permanent record. The findings of fact and conclusions of law are separate.
Did you hear that, Councilman Brennan?
I did hear that. Thank you.
Okay. So council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
It sounds like Councilman Brennan just wants these amended to make sure that the chairperson is written in here as abstaining from the vote. Is that correct, Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor,
Councilman Garvey?
isn't there a difference between abstaining and just not voting? If you abstain, you say that you're going to abstain or you recuse yourself. I guess I'm trying to follow what the issue, I guess.
I guess at this point, given that it wasn't clear to the chair what he was or wasn't doing, we might just put he didn't vote. And then going forward, he can either choose to vote or abstain from voting. And make it abundantly clear in the record.
So there's no issues in the new business with findings of facts?
No.
You're moving forward? Okay. So Councilman Brennan, is that a motion?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I formally made one, but I do want to make a motion to deny approving the minutes.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I'd ask legal what that kind of legal implications will be from just denying minutes.
Until they're corrected.
Yeah, so I guess for some reason you're being asked to approve the minutes of the P&Z Commission. Councilman Brennan is moving that you not approve those minutes until they accurately reflect what happened. So all you do is send them back to the person who writes them.
Okay.
Change them and then bring them back to be reapproved. That's all.
Council members, we have a motion to send the Planning and Zoning Commission's February 7th, 11th, 22nd back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the amended changes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Okay. The other one that was pulled is L. Approved lease agreement with University of Idaho for the 4-H group to use shooting range. Councilman Stokes.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to pull this because I want to recuse myself from the vote and from influencing the council on this, given that I directly supervise the 4-H program coordinator, and it could be perceived that there's a perception of pecuniary benefit.
Okay. Council members, Councilman Garvey, Councilman Brennan, Councilman Stokes has recused himself from this. What do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
I have a question for the police chief. Could he come a little closer?
Sure.
Thank you. Since this isn't just the first time, this is more like a renewal. I wanted to ask about if you've noticed a financial burden caused by this program with the replacing of the backstops or the boards that your targets hang on. I know that I seem to remember there's an agreement that the police department and the sheriff's office rotate between changing out the backstops.
That is correct, yes.
And so I just want to make sure that it's not causing an undue financial burden with the cost of lumber or whatever on the police department and the sheriff's office.
No, it's not.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Stokes, doesn't the 4-H bring their own targets?
Mr. Mayor, I believe so, yes.
Okay. So Councilman Brennan or Councilwoman Garvey, what do you guys want to do?
I make a motion that we approve L.
There's been a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Could you tell me the motion? I couldn't hear her.
To approve L.
As printed, yes, I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
And Councilman Stokes abstains.
Recuses himself.
Recuses. All right. Run down to action item, discussion decision to pass resolution 092022R establishing the non-residential library rates.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
make a motion to pass resolution number 09-2022 establishing non-residential library rates.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
This simple thing composed by Shasta basically makes county residents pay a fair share of what the city is putting in, hence the need for this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 3, discussion decision to pass resolution 10-2022R establishing a zoning verification letter fee.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
I make a motion that we pass the resolution 10-2022R establishing a zoning verification letter fee.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
Mr. Cherry brought this forth because he was getting a lot of requests, and this basically equals his time he puts into it, so it's much needed.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Run down to action item number 4, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations for annexation of United Metal located 1145 Air Base Road and findings of facts.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
I'm going to have a little discussion. It's going to incorporate item number 5 as well. The difference being one is annexation and the other is zoning. The findings of fact on page 3, it's labeled like paragraph 5 up towards the top. It says the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-1 in favor to recommend approval of the request. Can you guess where I'm going with this?
I can see it.
The minutes on February 7th from Planning and Zoning show the vote as such. Commission member, Brett Lick, aye. Commission member Ignis, aye. Sauerwald, aye. And Roeder, nay. That is a 3-1 vote. That is not a 4-1 vote.
So are you wanting the findings of facts changed?
Sorry, and I'm not calling anybody out for an error. I'm simply trying to drive home my point that all of the minutes that we pulled from the planning and zoning are showing as if somebody is voting, and I'm not going to allow that if they're not actually voting. So for that reason, I'm voting against this.
For action item number 4?
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Because, the finding of fact is for annexation and zoning in one document.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
permission to speak to our
What?
councilman in a box. Councilman Brennan, I would just ask that you would consider in lieu of voting to deny these findings of fact that we could practice interlineation. You have hammered the point home about voting. I know it is something that you've spoken to me about before. I can tell you I will never again present you findings of fact and or minutes which are inaccurate in terms of voting. And we will make all of those recommended changes for the sake of being pro-business, for the sake of ensuring that the applicant is able to move in a timely manner and also have confidence within our community development staff. I would just ask that you please consider, instead of denying the item, to do interlineation in order for it to reflect what actually happened.
Brock, would you suggest saying it's a 3-to-1 vote, or just simply saying
yes,
somebody chose not to vote?
I would say that it was a 3-to-1 vote with one party not voting.
Okay.
Who would be the chairman?
That's fine.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Mayor, I think that the amount of work that goes into this and the amount of work that the applicants have put in, I don't think that we should hold it up based on that. So I would like to make a motion that we approve this annexation zoning with the description, item 5 be the 3-to-1 vote. We will make that correction of the findings and facts, but not make them have to come back to the table.
So Councilwoman Garvey, what do you want to do on number 4 then?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Change the findings, do interlineation. Sorry.
Yes, okay, I make a motion that we approve the decision of planning and zoning with interlineation on item number 5.
4.
4. No, 5.
And 5?
5 on here, sorry, 5 on here.
5 on 5. Sorry.
I was like, wait, what are you
Okay,
confusing me? I'm only on 2 hours of sleep. Item 5 reflecting that we only had a 3-to-1 vote, not a 4-to-1 vote.
There's a motion made. Do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Does that include a little part that says one person did not vote within your motion?
No, I read the minutes. I mean, it's one person didn't vote. That was past tense. This is going forward, right? We read the minutes. Legal? I need some
The
advice.
findings of fact and conclusions of law are the basis upon which you made, the commission rendered the decision. The vote is, how the vote came out is less important, whether it was 3-to-1, 6-to-2, 4-to-20, the score isn't a material part of the findings of fact and conclusions of law, unless it defeats a quorum.
Correct. Yes.
So whether or not a particular member voted or didn't vote, Councilman Brennan's point is very well made, that the chair needs to be recorded as having voted. In this case, the findings of fact and conclusions of law contain that there was an adequate vote, that there was a quorum present, and that the body voted 3-to-1 to do that. So if you want to change the findings of fact and conclusions of law to reflect that accurate statement, it can include as much or as little information as you wish. So.
I stand by my motion then.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, let me see if I got this right. All right, there's been a motion and second to approve the deliberation decision of Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for annexation for United Wells located at 1145 Air Base Road, findings of facts with interlineation of a 3-to-1 vote and one not voting. No, we're not putting that one in.
The one not
Okay,
voting.
on section 5.
Correct.
Okay. It's been any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, yes. I'm sorry, did she say to indicate a 3-to-1 vote?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, that's good. The last thing I wanted to ask about before the vote is taken is the commission recommended a phase 1 environmental assessment by a certified professional. Does that just mean an assessment occurs and they get to move on, or does that mean that they have to follow all of the recommendations of the site survey, site assessment?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Brock.
So what was recommended, due to the history of the site being home to materials that may not be healthy for our community in order to be annexed, it was decided by the commission that the applicant would have to at least do that phase 1 study. And I believe it was assumed that if there were any red flags, that the applicant would take care of those items. Note the applicant has submitted their study to staff. I don't know if I was able to forward that on to all of you. But good news is we have the applicant, who I think would be happy to do a brief summary of what they have done and what that study illustrates.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Counselor.
I might be able to save a little bit of time, possibly. The motion that was made and the requirement that was placed on them was to obtain the environmental study, or the level one, which was done and which has been submitted to this body. There was no follow-on with that because the discussion, which I believe is reflected in the findings of fact and conclusions of law, that any mitigation or anything that would be required on the site would be required of their lender, and that the city, there was extensive discussion regarding this fact as to whether or not the annexation of the property doesn't change any obligation on the part of the city regarding mitigating any potential contaminations there.
Okay.
So they have done that which the commission provided as a condition, which was to obtain this study, and that's been done.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I heard most of what Jeff was saying, but I don't see in the findings of fact where it said any recommendations must be mitigated. Did I hear you right, Jeff? Is that
That's
supposed
right.
to be in there?
That's right. That's specifically not in there.
Oh, it's specifically not in there. So we don't care what the site assessment says, or as long as it's done.
That's right.
So,
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
Why? Why would we even ask them to do it then?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
To restate what Jeff stated, so I have a condition in all my staff reports, and it's very nomenclature with any application, is you have to not only abide by local laws but federal and state laws as well. It is assumed that in order for the applicant, in order for this annexation to take place, in order to move forward, that if that study says you have to do X, they have to do that in order to go forward. So I guess what we're saying is, I'm not a environmental scientist, neither is legal. We can tell you what was in there. You also are privy to having the applicant tell you that this is what we found. But regardless of what happens, they have to do whatever recommendation is in there in order to comply with both state and federal regulations.
Well, I understand that. Can you put that in the findings of fact? So we're voting to approve it. So I'm not. From what I understand, this is like a 300-page assessment. So can we put a one sentence in there that says all recommendations must be followed?
That was my.
Councilwoman Garvey, sorry.
That's all right. You'll figure it out someday.
I know. Slow me up, Dick.
Number 3, and if I'm reading this correctly, it says prior to the annexation being recorded and filed, phase fund site assessment, certified professional shall be completed. And then they also, I'm going to assume, have a lender involved who's also going to make sure that these things are done. I guess, Councilman Brennan, I'm understanding what you're saying, but what kind of verbiage more do we need, do you think?
I'm not sure what paragraph you just read from. There's no point in making them do an assessment if we're not going to have any follow-up. And I don't know where Brock is saying that it is mandated upon them before we'll annex the property. So I'd like it written in here that just says any requirements of that study must be completed before annexation. I don't have a problem with the project, but we made them do a pretty expensive site study or whatever you call it, so there should be some follow-up with that.
All right, council members, any further deliberation? Councilman Brennan?
I'd just like to see if one of the two people would amend their motion or second. That'd be great.
We already have seconded it.
Right, so,
It's already out there,
so, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the question. Council, well, let me really do it one more time. Any further discussion?
There needs to be follow-up with something we required.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. Cherry, is there a follow-up in just making sure that everything's legal federally and state laws?
I believe so, and I would direct that to.
They have to get a building permit from the city of Mountain Home. There's a way to follow up.
Perfect.
All right, it's been motioned, it's been seconded. I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Is he
Talk
disconnected?
about annexation here first.
Yes.
Building permit has nothing to do with annexation.
We're number 4.
We're jumping ahead, so I'm just gonna vote nay since there's no follow-up.
Okay. Run down to number 5, action items. Deliberation discussion on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations for zoning C4 United Metals located 1145 Air Base Road, findings and facts.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I'll make the recommendation in motion to pass Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for zoning C4 for United Metals located at 1145 Airbase Road and findings of facts, with one caveat that we change conclusions of law number 5 to reflect the 3-to-1 vote.
It's motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call Councilman Brennan.
I guess I'll tell you why I'm gonna vote nay on the record, for the exact same reason, because there's no follow-up from the city mandating what we've required.
Okay. It's been a motion and seconded. I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Nay.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey? Run down to item number 6, action item request to amend the dates on section 7, subsection A for all subsections to coincide with the terms and selection of one of the amended and restated golf course management agreement dated April 12, 2016.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I was wondering if Mrs. Belt might tell the council about this item.
Yes, I'd love to, Mayor. So, council, as you could tell, these subsections, they were to be renegotiated. The time has come and gone for both the sections. Mr. Gomez has come in, TJ, requesting his incentive pay in section C. And when I opened up the agreement, I read through it, I said, no, this was to be renegotiated and the council will have to approve this. He was paid last year for the incentive pay. I think that was probably merely by mistake, not opening up the contract, but I wasn't here then, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I think there's actually a couple things in play here, especially as we change the golf course fees, and we're talking about compensation basically on the fees and revenue at the course. As we up those, that number is going to go up anyway. It's just a thought. And then in section 5, subsection C, as well as section 7, subsection A, these negotiations just haven't taken place on behalf of the contract that we have with Mr. Gomez. So I personally, I wouldn't be in favor of amending these dates for this contract.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Okay, so we can't change what happened. Happened, unfortunately. The contract wasn't read. However, going forward, I think I discussed it with Tiffany and with TJ's and all of ours. Going forward, let's just rewrite this contract to reflect the correct dates. It's about his bonus. It's not what he's been paid. It's a bonus, and he actually only bonused one time in the last 10 years. So I think that shows what he's doing for our golf course. So I think if we can just mutually agree to fix this contract, and keep moving forward, I don't know that much more discussion needs to happen because we don't want to lose TJ.
Yeah, I did, Mayor, I did ask TJ if he was willing, I know it is only March, but it feels like September will be here tomorrow, honestly. So can we start the process of renegotiating it and clean this up? And then come back with the incentive stuff. Paul and I met with him. I think he's willing to adjust some of this incentive pay as well, so it's maybe less confusing at times. So I definitely think that discussion like Councilman McGarvey and I had is something we could bring to the table with TJ. So.
So what I'm hearing, council members, that you want to just hold off on this, get a plan and an action item, have it and then you guys meet with him and talk about what you guys want to do, or?
Mayor, I just want to make sure that if we do that, what is this year going to look like? Is he not getting paid his bonus? That's the other source of contention I kind of have. I mean, rightfully so, we had this contract, and thankfully Tiffany found the error, but, I mean, I just don't think it's fair that we don't bonus him now based on this.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Councilman Stokes?
I don't think reading the contract that we didn't hold up that part of the bargain. It actually says in here, this golf course manager shall negotiate a new agreement concerning these blah, 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 blah. Doesn't say anything about the city going and renegotiating anything. So I would disagree with you on that.
Mayor.
Tiffany?
I agree with that. Councilman Stokes, I do think it was his responsibility to come forward. However, I agree with Councilwoman McGarvey that we gave him the bonus for the previous years outside of what was stated in the contract. So I think there's error on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to make sure we do it right for the last 6 months.
Mayor, so aside from this contract, obviously the dates are incorrect. Is there an issue bonusing him? We have a contract saying that we're going to. We have a contract saying that if he produces X amount over, he gets that bonus. So do we have an issue?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes?
I don't think there's an issue. I think that given that the council has adjusted, which is raising the fees at the golf course in general, that those numbers are skewed in a way. Does that make sense?
Mayor, this is past tense. This bonus is based on last year's performance, not going forward. So we have the leverage now going forward to discuss his bonuses, because we're talking past tense bonus. I mean, this was his performance last year. And so I think it's kind of crummy for us to be like, oh, well, you should have come to us and we should have come to you, so we're going to hold your bonus on the line. I know that the golf course is a source of contention for a lot of people because it doesn't fund itself, but the programs and the things that he does for our youth and I just think that we could come to a conclusion to get this issue resolved and then discuss it forward. Just my thoughts.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
I agree with Councilwoman Garvey on that front. TJ does some great stuff, getting the youth involved, the lessons, blah, blah, blah. I also see it from a department head standpoint from the city where, say, if Chief Connor arrests another 20 people this next year, I don't think we're going to hand him a $3,000 bonus, are we, Chief?
Sure.
I know. But then again, Chief Connor is not a contracted individual. That was just a pure example, Chief. Sorry. I'm okay with moving forward with this and finding some sort of resolution.
So, Councilwoman Garvey, Tiffany, how are we going to move forward then? Give them the bonus,
yeah,
and then
well,
renegotiate the dates? Is that what we're all working on?
We need to correct this agreement with him.
Yes, I would say we need to get TJ to the table, and I'll probably ask you and whoever council members want to be with to negotiate this with TJ, and we'll start working on it long before 2023.
Okay.
Hang out the raise now or later?
We'll pay the incentive out now. Yeah, you'll see that probably in the next bill run, wouldn't you say, Paula? But the rest of, go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize, Mayor.
You're fine, go ahead.
So, Tiffany, what you're recommending, pay the bonus now, fix the contract later?
Yes, Councilman Brennan, the contract actually expires September of this year. So I would like to pay out the bonus incentive now, and clean that up, and then we would renegotiate for this to take effect as soon as we could get it agreed upon.
He's already worked the entire time in which the bonus is earned?
Correct. Councilwoman Garvey said that it was based off of last year's activity.
Is it fiscal year or calendar year?
It's calendar. I'm going to assume it's calendar year because that seems to be what every one of these agreements are. But I don't know that.
All right, thank you.
Paula?
Mayor and Council, I would just ask that something is in place regarding TJ's contract, in at least no later than June, just for budgeting purposes. Otherwise, we're right back where we were last year, where we're like, ooh. So just for budgeting purpose, whatever the calculation is, you guys can get it done in the next 2 or 3 months. Be awesome.
So this is an action item. Does somebody want to make a motion to pay the bonus and then sit down at a date and time with Tiff to start this procedure?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Can I ask Mrs. Bellett how much the bonus is?
I don't have that. I honestly, after I read that section, I didn't even do the math.
Do we have a roundabouts number just to be fiscally responsible?
No, I do not.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Go ahead, Paula. Mayor and Council, and I think the fees did go up, so we'll try to adjust for that increase. So we'll like minus that out and then do some math and maybe we'll show it to you.
I can tell you, when we talked with TJ, we asked on the point of sale to know how many users actually went out to the course just to do the math and do it accurately. So we would take off those differences. So.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Again, I will just kind of reiterate my point of the fact that this is the hard work that's already been earned. This is the contract that we signed with our golf course pro. It's not something he brought to us. It's not just coming to fruition. And again, this is a bonus based on performance that he's never made before except for last year. And now, I mean, that just speaks volumes of what he's doing. So I will make a motion that we pay the bonus for 2021 and that we will, as a council, myself, I will work with Tiffany, if you need it, to help amend this contract.
There's a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Nay.
Councilman Garvey? Councilwoman Garvey, I'm sorry.
Yay. A. Whatever. I'm so frazzled. I approve.
Councilman Brennan?
Councilman Stokes voted nay.
Yes.
Is that just because about the bonus right now without having a contract?
Councilman Stokes, any further discussion or you just nay?
Just nay.
Just nay.
Okay, without just answer, then yay. Aye.
All right.
We're all confused.
All right, run down to item number 7, discussion on the possible purchase of Mount Home.
6.
Number 7. No, 7. Sorry, the Mount Home Irrigation District Office. I'm gonna, Councilman Brandon, this is your baby.
All right, we had a brief conversation about this earlier in a workshop. I'm just trying to do some future planning for the city that leads towards growth and development. Our city hall is bursting at the seams from within, so I'm just looking to have a potential option to grow. If this fiber department were to take off, that's going to need more people. They're not in City Hall, but the building department, City Hall, maybe another, not another, but an additional job of a human resource officer, so the city clerk can focus on city clerk jobs, something to that effect. All sorts of possibilities. I think the city needs some space to grow into. Keeping in mind we already lease, I don't know, a third of that building every month anyways. We have been doing so for years. And so I'd like to just ask the council if we could come up with an educated number, not just a guess or an assumption, but an educated number of something we could offer the irrigation district for their building, and maybe allow them to use city council chambers for their public meetings as, you know, part of the trade-off.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I agree with Councilman Brennan on this one. Upon further research from myself, I've learned the Mountain Home Irrigation District is a quasi-governmental entity. And I think due to the proximity to City Hall, how staffed we are internally in City Hall, it is the most judicious use of taxpayer funds to buy an entity or propose buying an entity in their building that's so close to ours. And further, I could foresee that a particular department could be housed there that would help City Hall function better on a day-to-day basis.
Any other further discussion?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Quick couple things. I think, Councilman Brennan, you are spot on figuring out future planning for the city. I think that's great, and would love to be a continued part of that planning. A couple things. First and foremost, is the irrigation building even for sale? Probably not. Okay, so I think that before we put a lot of work, I've looked at the budget pretty intensely lately. I think before we put a lot of planning and dollar amounts into a building that's going to have to go publicly for sale, I did some research also. We would have to have an appraisal on it. I think we discuss future options, but not site specific. I think the irrigation building would be awesome, but the renovation of the offices, we don't even know if we'd want that place. I mean, it might not even be big enough for the money that we would have to move that way. So, I mean, I would like to see it go forward as we discuss it, but just maybe not on this specific building, because last I heard it's not for sale.
All right. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I believe we actually lease about half of the space in there. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. So I just see that as a great way to expand on the city of Mountain Home, especially as our population needs more services.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Councilwoman Garvey is correct. It is not publicly for sale right now, and I'm not sure what restrictions they're under, but I've bought several things that are not publicly for sale in terms of real property. And so I'm hoping, all I'm asking the council to do is to be willing to negotiate with them, to say, would you like to sell it? That's it. And then if they say yes, then we can start negotiating a sale price. It never even has to go to a realtor or to whatever legal process we have to follow, we'll do that. But I'm just asking that we can enter into a negotiation to see if it's a possibility.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Can I ask legal some questions about that? A governmental entity possibly entering a negotiation with a quasi-governmental entity about real property and negotiations that can take place?
In public.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure what you mean by quasi-governmental. If you mean that an irrigation district constituted under Idaho Code Title 43 doesn't have the power to enact ordinances or police power, there's
Just
still
speak
a
up,
public.
please.
There's still. Oh.
Just speak up.
So, And is there, it's Title 43, right?
I believe it is.
So you have a board of directors under state code. So they're not even, hi. So they're not quasi. That's a government, it's a public entity. So they're governed by Idaho code, and then Title 43, 318, sale of personal real property, and this outlines the procedures by which they can go into selling any property that they want. So their board of directors would have to, get together and say, hey, do we want to sell what we own? It's weird because some governmental entities have highly specific provisions about obtaining appraisals, setting something for bid, but typically transferring property from one government entity to another doesn't require any of that. You can sell it for a stated price. You can exchange it with it, but they'll probably have to have a public hearing or some sorts of things. I'm just now looking at their section of code. What's that?
Our shareholders would have to be notified.
Okay. Oh yeah. Notice of sale shall describe the property, so they need to get an appraisal. So we're stuck with that. So they have to get it appraised, and then, anyway. So to answer your question, and then the negotiation goes from there, but it's in public.
I swear. I believe Councilman Brennan's just saying, let's entertain the idea, and I would hope that the non-home irrigation district might be amenable to something like that.
There is.
Cool.
Possible.
Everything's for sale, right?
Right, yeah.
It's right there.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, so I think the discussion, any further discussion?
Where are we ending with this, Mayor?
Discussion on possible purchase, however you guys want. You guys tell me what you guys want me to do.
I'd like to ask the council to agree for a discussion decision item or an actionable item on the next agenda, just to say if we can enter into some type of discussion and negotiation. That's it.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I think we need to figure out how we're going to pay for it. I mean, it's plain and simple. It's not, we don't have that kind of money just sitting around. I think that should be the discussion first. It's how we're going to pay for it. I'm done. Go ahead, bro.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interject, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that the ELT team is also seriously considering facilities management in the future. What does it look like? How many people are we going to lose? How many are we going to hire? And I think this would be an amazing discussion that you could have with department heads during those meetings and really break down, this is who we're planning on having, this is who we're planning on leaving, give you a really overhead view of these are our current facilities, these are where they are failing. And I think this could be the footsteps to a really good facilities master plan for the city.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a cool next step, and I don't know, Mayor, what do you think?
They make the decisions. I'm just the eye candy.
But I think that could be a great resource for this spot.
I think we have discussed moving bodies around, making space. Currently in this office, I don't know where we're at with that. I know you've had a discussion with your department. I know Tiffany's had a discussion with her department, adding space, making it more fluent, making it more what's the word I'm looking for? More amenable for everybody to get the best bang without having to spend the dollar. Other than a few desks and I don't remember what else. Yeah.
Just better flow.
Better flow.
We don't know.
Putting people with each other so one person isn't all the way over here and the other one's over there. Putting them together, moving things around. I don't know. I never got with you or Tiff about what you guys finally decided or your teams. So there is future planned, I guess, growth for City Hall. Definitely not opposed to buying anything. If we, like, is Councilwoman Garvey, I don't know where we're going to find that kind of scratch, but unless they're going to give it to us for $1. Sounds like a good plan. Since we are Mountain Home Irrigation shareholders.
A recharge project in this county.
So, Councilman Brennan,
Yep.
what do you want to do? Or actually, all council members, what do you guys want to do?
I told you what I want to do. I just haven't heard from Brad yet what he wanted to do. That's all I'm waiting for.
Mr. Mayor? I was going to ask Leo, how much is an appraisal? And I know we've paid for one in the past, did we not?
We halved it with, what was the Lion's Head guy? Or no, it wasn't him, was it?
We paid for some.
Was it like, does 2,400 sound familiar? Like it was
Oh, more than that. More than
4,200? Like 4,200 and we split it in half. Does that sound?
About 4,000, 5,000.
And it was a few years back.
Was
So-
it with Lion's Head guy?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we split it. So it's been
Yeah.
several years since then.
Okay.
They're pretty busy now, so
So-
it might be more.
Yeah, it might be, yeah.
The appraisal requirement is
Mm-hmm.
on the
Seller.
duty of the board of the irrigation district.
Mhm.
But they have to be of the opinion that the property's worth more than $50,000. So that gives you a starting point of what you're gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say, do you think you're gonna need an appraisal? And, that would tell you. And
Mr.
then-
Mayor?
And then you can negotiate who's gonna pay for it. That's.
Steph, you and I talk about irrigation every once in a while. Does the irrigation district have about $4,000 or $5,000 for appraisal?
I would like to say there is potential out there, but I will not go on record for that because that would have to come from our board chair,
Yeah.
Mr. Swana. But he is open to negotiation because he and I discussed this item that I found for the council tonight. And so he is open to discussion with the city regarding that building and actually another piece of property.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Sounds like the irrigation district wants to get his property.
So this is, I'm sorry, I just read this, so you may not know it, and you have probably your own legal counsel, but shall be appraised by 3 disinterested freeholders of the district. So you can have maybe like a ditch writer or somebody, or anyway, I'm joking, but
Well,
it
yeah.
doesn't say you have to pay for an appraisal, it just says 3 disinterested freeholders of the district, selected by the board, shall appraise it, so.
So that means I have to go out and look for my 3 disinterested.
Maybe so, but anyway,
And-
might be less than a regular appraisal.
Less is more.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I was just going to say, it sounds like the council and the Mountain Home Irrigation District both would be open for negotiation, and that would be my stance.
Okay, so do you guys want to put this on the next agenda?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I was going to ask Stephanie when their next board meeting is, because I have no idea. Is there a way that we could ask Stephanie perhaps to bring this officially to their board and say,
Yes, as their secretary, I can add it to our agenda for April 5th.
perfect. How does that sound, Councilman Brennan?
I like it.
All right.
They made it 2 p.m. We're not an evening, we're an afternoon.
Tiff.
Can I appear at that?
Yes, you may. It's
Does the
open.
council care if I go to that?
Mr. Mayor?
I don't care. Councilman Stokes.
I don't care if you go to it as long as you don't speak directly on my behalf.
Also,
Just Mike, since he's not there.
don't make any offers or do anything that could bind the city.
So Councilman Brennan, Mr. Shore says, don't make any offers or any binding that binds the city.
I got you.
Unless you can cover it.
Okay, so council, we're getting off topic here. So do you want to? So they're having it April 5th. Do you guys want to have it sometime in April then as well, the discussion, or do you want to? What's the next?
So March 28th is our next meeting, so I would recommend you have it April 11th.
11th, yeah.
Here.
So,
Councilwoman Garvey.
I think with that discussion, there needs to be discussion of where the money's gonna come from.
Okay, concur. So is you gonna make an agenda or motion to put that on the?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to put the purchasing and or land swap and or governmental exchange. It was about the Mountain Home Irrigation District building between the city of Mountain Home and them for April 11th, our council meeting.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I say one thing?
You bet.
Councilman Brennan, when you attend their April 5th meeting, will you find out where their land is that they potentially want to sell? Not the building, the land.
She's trying to say something back there.
I can tell you where it's at.
Oh, well, okay.
Do you want to know?
If Steph wants to give up the secret.
You can email
It's
him.
not a secret.
Oh,
It is it's 0.1 acre beside Pioneer Federal Credit Union, that little triangle piece that they stopped their boundary, and then it goes from their boundary to the corner of Jackson Street. It's just that tiny little strip of property.
Right along the
Yeah, it's
irrigation
not
ditch.
something huge to put anything on, but it's something that could
Okay, all right.
parking for 2 cars.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. I'll call for the any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
All right, we'll run down to ordinance. Action item, ordinance number 1735, enacting subsection F governing agendas to Title I, Chapter 6, Section 4 of the Mountain Home Code.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title alone for its one and only reading tonight. About ordinance number 1735, enacting subsection F governing agendas to Title I, Chapter 6, Section 4 of the Mountain Home Code.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Tiff, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Mountain Home, Idaho, amending Title I, Chapter 6, Section 4 of the Mountain Home City Code of Mountain Home, Idaho, enacting a new Section F governing agendas and providing an effective date.
Council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
All righty. Meeting adjourned.